it's Julie Hollinger from the Petawawa Military Family Resource Center, and thank you again for joining us for our fireside chat. This has become a weekly tradition with the PMFRC, and it's our opportunity to reach out with you and to talk about some of the things that are going on in our community at the PMFRC. Since the beginning of this session, we have been so fortunate that so many of our community partners have agreed to join us on these sessions. Our goal has always been to give you an idea of the full range of supports that are available in the community. Petawawa is a wonderful place, and there's so many organizations that people may not know about, services and programs that you may not be aware of. So we're trying to bring those to you. Today, we have a very special opportunity to speak with folks from the Garrison and to make some introductions and give you a chance to ask questions. Before I introduce my panelists, I just want to let people know that if you do have a question for the commander or for Chief Durnford and you would like to ask those as we go along, please add them to the comments below. We will get a notification of that and we will address those questions at the end. So if there is a burning question about something that's happening or something that we're discussing that you'd like to talk about, add that to the comments. Similarly, if you're watching this later on and then not through the live stream, add the question to the comments regardless, and we will make sure those questions get answered and we will get back to you. So just going around the loop, we'll introduce folks. I hope that my loop looks like yours. We have the Commander of 4 CDSG, Colonel Col Vass, with us. We have the Formation Sergeant Major, Jack Durnford. We have Lieutenant Colonel Ian Clark. He is the Commanding Officer of Purse Services, and of course, Claudia Beswick. She is the Executive Director of the PMFRC. Thank you all for joining us and for taking the time to talk to the families and introduce yourself. Colonel Vass, is the first time you've joined us. I know that there are official bios that often people think are a little too stuffy, so I'm just going to throw to you and let you introduce yourself.
Hey, perfect. Thank you, Julie, and good morning, everyone. Let me first say that it is an absolute pleasure for me to participate in today's fireside chat, and I will do everything I can to answer any questions that you may have. To start, though, I'll give you a bit of my background, and so you do get a better idea of the lens that I'm looking through when it comes to Garrison Petawawa and the community. So my father was in the military, and I actually did spend a lot of my youth here in Petawawa. As a child, I grew up on the south side RHUs. As an adolescent, I lived on the north side. I actually graduated from General Pan A. And for those of you that know, it was actually here on the base at that time. Canucks is now there. Brought a tear to my eye when they tore it down, but hey, we'll get over it. That's evolution. Through hockey, I was engaged with the community. And a lot of my high school friends actually still live here in Petawawa. Like me, they're much older, they're heavier, they're grayer, but nonetheless, they are here. So I do have very strong ties to the community on both the military and the civilian side. From a military perspective, I left Petawawa after high school for university and then returned 4 years later. And I have served, for those of you that your husbands are with the brigade, with 1 and 3 RCR, and then as well with CANSOFCOM. I've always kept my home here in Petawawa, so I'm ecstatic to be living back here, as it's been a long 7 years running the roads. And, you know, really out of 26 years, I've spent over 15 of them in Petawawa. And I only tell you this because I do consider Petawawa my home, and I do care very much about the community, the serving members, of course, and our families. And at this point, I think I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Claudia, Julie, and all of our staff at the PMFRC for the exceptional work that you do to take care of our soldiers and their families. Your significant efforts don't go unnoticed. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very kind of you to say. I think anybody who was going to admit that they were a high school friend of yours might not after you said that they were grayer and larger and older. So no, we'll let those people self-identify if they choose to. Chief Durnford, thank you for joining us. I'll let you introduce yourself as well, and if you want to talk about your role here and your background.
Absolutely. Thanks, folks, for the invite. And again, like the commander said, I'd be remiss if I didn't commend Julie, Claudia, and your team, your whole team, on providing that exceptional programming and support to our military families, certainly during this unprecedented time. It's not lost on me or the commander the pressures that you guys were under, but still that exceptional support you've continue to provide. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Like the commander, I've spent nearly 30 years on here in Petawawa. I was born and raised in Newfoundland, a small outport community. Didn't even know what the military was at that time. But since then, I've spent majority of my time here in Petawawa, and I consider Petawawa home. My wife works here. My son is a member of 450 Squadron. My daughter is involved in real estate, and hopefully soon will become a real estate agent here in Petawawa. My two granddaughters are here, so Petawawa is home, and we plan on retiring here. Which makes it that much more. Given this job, I'm very passionate, not only about the garrison and what goes on the garrison, but also the family or the community. Just a little bit about my experiences. Served in 1 RCR, 3 RCR, again, like the commander in CANSOFCOM for a number of years. My last job was RSM at 3 RCR. I come at this with 7 deployments, so I'm very familiar with all of those pressures that go on with at the PMFRC due to deployments and some of the things that families go through. Yeah, I think I'll leave it. I'll leave it there. I'm happy to be here and answer any questions that I can during the fireside chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I think it's so important to sort of get a better idea of the person behind the position. I think so often we see names, but we forget that these people, you were family and you have families, and you're a part of this community, so you get what it is to be a family at Garrison Petawawa. Colonel Vass, I talk to families, and I see the social media posts, and I know that the number one question that people have for you is going to be about COVID and the COVID restrictions and business resumption plan. And I mean, people talk about getting back to normal, and we don't know when that is. So we don't ask for specific answers, but if you want to talk overall about business resumption at Garrison Petawawa and what that means for the members and their families.
Absolutely. Thanks for that question, Julie. And I would just say that I think everybody's well aware that the services and the activities that are normally provided by the garrison are sadly much different this year. And it's not lost on us that this has a significant impact on our families, the community writ large, but also our members. And while our PSP staff does continue to work extremely hard to provide our members morale and welfare services, we're extremely limited by provincially mandated protocols. But additionally, we also have to incorporate Canadian Armed Forces orders that direct that we must protect the force to ensure that we are capable of responding to a crisis at any time, especially during this pandemic. And so for these reasons, we've had to be very disciplined and draconian about our facilities and who we grant access. Other than a small number of clubs, access to our facilities is restricted to uniformed personnel only and during very specific hours. I know that this is not optimal, and we are hoping this will change sooner rather than later. Unfortunately, I cannot provide you with a realistic timeline, as it really is based on the environment and provincial trends and direction. We can only hope, I think, and we're all included in this. We're all in it together. But really, that our fellow citizens continue to follow the recommended health protocols to limit the transmission of the disease and really give us some more latitude and eventually give us our normal lives back. So, I can't put a finite timeline on it, Julie, which I think everybody understands, but it's safe to say that the reason we have implemented these protocols is really to protect the forest so that we can respond, much like we did with the long-term care facilities. And that's the chief's main concern, is to protect the forest and, of course, our families, so we can be there as really the force of last resort.
And as you were talking, I just made a note here. When the chat is finished, we will add to the comment section. We've already added the Facebook page for Garrison Petawawa, but we will add the links to follow PSP on Facebook and PSP Recreation. All of those pages are posting up-to-date information. So when things do change, you can sort of get all those updates there. So we'll have those as resources. You can also go to cafconnection.ca, and that is the website for both the PMFRC and for PSP if you want to get the latest updates. Those are the places to go for the accurate information. Claudia, PMFRC business resumption updates. Is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything new you want to share?
We actually continue just to be vigilant in our safety protocols that are already in place. So everyone stopping in at the Northside office will have to fill out their screening form and wear a mask. Same with all the staff that are here are wearing their masks. We're still collecting the morale mail and the parcels, so keep bringing them. They get picked up a couple of times a week. For those that need the brown paper packaging and the documents, we've been able to connect with Canex, and they're also having storing some rolls of paper there. So if families need papers to wrap their packages and they can't come during our open hours, then Canex has them available in their location, and I believe it's by the post office kiosk. So huge thank you to Canex for helping us with that. In and out clearances, they're still happening, and you can, for our in and out process, you can do that from the comfort of your home. Both forms are available on the website, so reach out to us and let us know if you're leaving the area or if you're new to the community. And if you are new to the community, also check out the CAF Connection site for the Welcome to Petawawa guide. That's available there for you. We have several online activities for all family members. So, you know, we have our at-home date night series. There's an online series for demystifying your family's transition if you are you know, at the stage where you're transitioning out of the forces. We have baby buddies, there's employment related workshops, activities for children and youth. And of course, the ever popular programs in a box. There's a variety of them for the porch pickups on Wednesdays. So really check out CAF Connection. You'll also find on the CAF Connection national page, there's a list of virtual programs that are being offered at all, the majority of the MFRCs will have virtual programs that are available for any family. So you don't have to be a family in Petawawa to access our programs, and nor if you're a family in Petawawa, you know, there's other programs that you may be interested in that you can participate as well. For a little bit of good news, kind of, sort of, we're working with the ministry and the county to see what we need to have in place to reopen Kitty College and at least one of our casual care programs in the new year. It is not going to be what it looked like before COVID, but we're doing everything we can to meet the guidelines that the ministry sets for us to be licensed. So more to follow on that. And we're looking at a target date of mid to end January. So sorry, stay tuned for that. And as soon as we have anything formal in place, we will keep everybody up to date and let everyone know. From a national perspective, I'd like to share that there is something new about, on behalf of the Canadian Forces Newspapers Youth Reporter Competition. So it's a mouthful, but it really gives a youth a unique chance to tell their story in print, online, or through social media with the help of Canadian Forces Newspapers journalists, editors, and photographers. So for any youth that are out there, it's a pretty cool opportunity, and if anyone is interested, more information is found on the CAF Connection website. Finally, I'd like to finish off by saying that our annual general meeting is taking place tonight, and for anyone interested in attending, you can find the link to register in the comments section. We're doing it through Zoom this year, so everything, like everything else we're doing, is virtual. You can join us from the comfort of your home. The theme this year is Family Matters, so it's very important to us, the family perspective. We're going to do a little bit of business with reviewing our last year's financial statements, review of bylaws. We have some new board members to introduce. We have some invited guests as well. And for those that participate, we have a draw, which will take place at the end of the meeting, and it's for a family portrait session with Brett Ashley Photography. So hope you can join us. We're looking forward to doing this a new way this year, and yeah, hope to see you there.
So I'm going to add links to all those things in the comments, the link for the morale mail information, because there's some special details depending on when you're sending your packages and what you need to have. We'll add the in and out clear up form. Claudia, you talked about like the list of programs. If someone goes to our list of programs and there's something for everybody and they have an idea of something they'd really love to see, how do they let you know about it?
On the CAF Connection site is also a link for feedback. So there's so many ways that you can reach out to us. We really, truly do want to hear from the families. Messenger, Facebook, send us an email. The MFRC contact page, there's staff contact. So you don't have to send it to me. You can send it to any one of the coordinators or to any of the staff members that you may know through your participation in any of our activities. So reach out to us, let us know. There's a lot of things that are going on across all of the MFRCs. There's 32 of us across Canada. We have some really cool, unique things happening. And if there's something cool that happened at a location where you came from, then let us know. And if it's something that we can make work here, we will. We have really good collaboration, not just with the chain of command here on the base, both on the garrison side, on the brigade side, especially with regards to deployment. The deployment coordinator has great communication chain with all of the brigade units that are dealing with deployment. So reach out, let us know. We want to hear. We can't promise that we can offer everything, but we can see what we can do to adapt to what best suits what we are able to provide here in Petawawa. And I know it looks very different across the country, what MFRCs are doing. Everybody is at different levels of this pandemic, and some are open, some have staff, some don't, some are closed. It's all very different, but know that we're doing everything to ensure the safety of the families and the clients that we serve, but also for the staff that are running the programs. So we rely a lot on the garrison and Colonel Clark for guidance and direction. Plus, like the commander said, we are also bound by the various ministries and provincial regulations that tell us what we can and cannot open. And we collaborate a lot with PSP. So there's so many things that we do in partnership with PSP, like the special needs sensory swim, which isn't open right now, but we have the ability to do those things in partnership. And we have such a vast level of experience and professionals between our organizations that we can try and make anything work. You just have to tell us what you like to see.
We are going to put the link to that feedback comment in the below. So if you wanted to send something, it goes directly to Claudia, and she will no doubt get that if you want to send that directly to her, if you want to reach out to one of us. Colonel Clark, welcome. Thanks for joining us again. We were talking last week about different things and how COVID has changed people's lives and some of those stresses. Christmas is coming and people have traditions and things that they do. And in some cases, they're not going to be able to do that this year. Can you talk a little bit about sort of, military families this year? They're facing deployments, they're facing COVID restrictions. You can't, obviously every family is different, but I mean, what does that mean for families and maybe some of the things that they should know going into this season?
Yeah, for sure, Julie. I know, this is there's been a long list of holidays that have been affected. I mean, the first was March break. Easter, we had a fireside chat. Summer leave, Remembrance Day. We've had all these traditions that have been affected by COVID, and Christmas is the next major one that will absolutely be affected by the pandemic. I just want to say up front, though, I've been talking to some folks up north. Santa and his team are in the North Pole bubble. They are in quarantine. They have excellent protocols, so there should be no issues with that. So Santa should be able to make deliveries. So I think that will be fine. But there's a lot of other traditions that will be affected. Everyone observes Christmas and the holidays maybe differently, but if you're at, one word that brings them together is family. Usually you come together as a family, both the small family and the extended wider family and friends. And clearly there's some traditions that we would normally do at Christmas that just won't be appropriate this year. Things like caroling, it's an old Army tradition where all the junior officers in the unit come around to each of the officers' houses and sing songs. Clearly mixing up is not a great idea anymore. Extended family may be in different provinces that have travel restrictions. People that are on deployment, they would have always been away. But perhaps in the past, if a spouse was deployed, extended family could come for Christmas. That might not be an option this year. It might for some, but it might not be for others. I would say at a minimum, we're probably gonna be staying closer to home. That doesn't mean we can't travel, but clearly there's going to be less travel than we would have seen before. A lot of the unit traditions won't happen. There will not be the series of Christmas parties which mark this season. And there are folks that are deployed, absolutely. So what are we going to do about that? I mean, I say at a minimum, we have to respect those protocols. We need to listen to our public health advisors, and they spoke yesterday, in fact, nationally, and we need to respect their direction. That's how we're going to get through this. But at the same time, we need to find ways to still observe these traditions as best we can, and to keep that connection. If the family unit, if you're all together here in Petawawa, then I would say make the best of it, make the most of it. If the family is split up by a deployment, then absolutely there's going to be challenges. We have virtual means now to be able to connect. I spent one Christmas overseas and I used FaceTime. It was brand new then. I was able to connect back home. That's still going to go on, things like that. But it's more that being able to visit aunts and uncles and parents that will have to find perhaps virtual ways to do it. Normally have things like kids Christmas parties and family days linked to Christmas. That's not possible this year because we can't we can't mingle around in a gym having presents. We're looking at other things to be able to mark the season though. A few units have got together and they've put together a parade of lights on the base where those units that have agreed to participate will have a window of time when their family members on invitation can drive through, have a bit of a safe Christmas experience. So that's going on. Units that are part of that know who they are, and they will push out info on how families can be a part of that. And I'm sure other folks will find resourceful ways to safely observe Christmas. But I will say that I am fully confident that Santa's protocols are airtight. He's in a safe location, and I am confident that at least that part will not be affected by COVID. But as always, watch the news. Listen to our health officials and be alert and agile, and we'll find a way to still be able to enjoy the holidays together, even if we're perhaps more split up than we would like to be.
Well, I think the Santa news was really the key thing that we were coming to you for. And I think that was what we were looking for. We always share the NORAD Santa tracker on the Facebook page, so you can sort of watch him as he goes. It's all about starting new traditions this year and doing things in a different way and making the best of what we've got. Colonel Vass, I'm going to come back to you, sir. We touched on it a little bit, talking about deployments, the garrisons and high readiness, and with everything that's going on. Deployments are always a bit of a tough thing going into the holidays. Without giving specific details, can you want to talk a little bit about deployments in the high readiness season and how it's affected the garrison?
Absolutely, Julia. Thank you for that. And I would just say, people online may or may not be aware, but personnel from the garrison, whether it's from 2 Brigade or CANSOFCOM or 450 helicopter squadron with the Chinooks, there's a significant number of people deployed right now. I mean, everything from small missions, which can be anywhere across the world, but particularly for us here in Petawawa, Latvia, the Ukraine, Kuwait, and in some cases Iraq. So that is current. We are also in the process, and again, this is primarily 2 Brigade, but finishing off their theater mission specific training. And this is in preparation for a deployment to Latvia, which will take place in January. So the past couple of months have been extremely busy for them in preparation for these deployments. And shortly they will be heading off on pre-deployment and Christmas leave, which will be followed by, unfortunately, again, this is the impact of COVID-19. We're actually obligated as a nation to quarantine our personnel prior to their deployment. So this adds on an additional 14 days before they go across the pond, and 14 days when they return. Now, the good news is that we have, really drilled into the requirements for the quarantining when people do return from a specific theater. And if it is safely possible, we will encourage soldiers to quarantine at home. Now, again, certain criteria must be met, but and if it can't, then we'll certainly accommodate and ensure that quarantine facilities are available. But I think the point is that this year is so much different than others because we never had a quarantine period before and after a mission. So just for families to make sure that you do take that into account, then it does extend the mission slightly. And while the risk level is much lower because you're back here in Canada, it is still time away, which we fully appreciate. Further causes challenges. And I would say, as far as high readiness as well, and I alluded to it when I just talked about the business resumption plans for the garrison itself. We also have a immediate response units, so forces that are designated high readiness forces that are capable of responding on very short notice for any of the needs of the government. So in a crisis situation, and we saw that happen again during the long-term care facility operation where we assisted Ontario with providing resources. So there's the pace is quite hectic here on the garrison, especially with having a lot of people currently deployed. So if there are additional questions, again, I see it from a garrison perspective. Certainly, I don't command and control the forces. That's done by the other units. But certainly, we see the impact, and what we care about is making sure the garrison provides that support for the families. And Julie and Claudia and their team do an excellent job of that, especially during these challenging and unprecedented times. So again, I really appreciate what you guys do for our families and the community.
Thank you so much. We are going to share a link in the comments section with a link to our deployment support team, so you can know about all the services that would be available to support your family if you're going through a deployment or if you're getting ready to go through a deployment. And just want to let people know that in Petawawa deployment, it's the actual going overseas, it is IR, and it also includes that workup training. So if your spouse is away, we consider you deployed, and if you need that support, please reach out. We have no questions that have come in. I just want to give everybody one more chance. If anybody has anything they want to say, anything that we add before we sign off, you are more than welcome to speak up before we go. It's like a speak now or forever hold your peace kind of moment.
I just want to say thanks to the commander, to the FSM, and obviously Colonel Clark, who joins us on a more regular basis these days. And we really do appreciate your FaceTime with the community and with us, and the support that we always get. It really, truly is appreciated. So thanks for that.
Julie, I'd just like to say, for anyone deploying for the first time, young families, there's a lot of information out there online. And then sometimes it can be overwhelming and confusing. What's the right information? So, if there are families out there that have questions that they feel that they can't get the answer online, by all means, through their chain of command. And I'm sure, Julie and Claudia, you can answer any of those questions or forward them to us. We just want to make sure that families with questions are getting the right answers. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you for adding that. I think one of the messages that we've tried to hammer home with every fireside chat is if you do have a question or a concern, oftentimes people are afraid to reach out because they don't think they're going to the right place. Don't not ask the question. We would rather that you give us a call and we find you the right door rather than sit there and not get the support that you need, especially during this season with everything else that's going on. Thank you everyone for joining us. We have another fireside chat coming next week. Colonel Clark is going to be joining me again with some folks from BMO and from CISA. November is financial health month. And we've been, I know that CISP has been doing a number of things and we've done a couple of broadcasts. It's not always a fun thing to talk about, but it's such an important thing to think about and important conversations to have, especially if you have a deployment in your future, having those conversations, making sure that people are aware of the things that are going on in the household are always so important. Thank you all for joining us. If you have a question or if you're watching this after on the recorded version and you didn't have a chance to ask your question, add it into the comments. We'll continue to monitor it. Send us a direct message if it's something that you don't want to add into that open comment section. We totally understand that as well. And we will make sure that you get the answers that you need. Thank you all for joining us. Colonel Vass, Chief Durnford, Colonel Clark, thank you all very much.
Have a great